my husband Ralph called Toronto, and he did get a hold of the lady that was looking after the selling or the tearing down of the place. And he asked her if it was possible to buy the place. And of course, she said yes, come up here and bring some money.
This picture shows Carl Clitheroe harvesting corn silage for the Dorlands. Justin says that they used to harvest their own corn silage 2 rows at a time. It would take 2 weeks to harvest all 50 acres. By contrast, Carl's forage harvester cuts 6 rows at a time and can finish 110 acres in 3 days. You have to find the best way to do the job and not get stuck on how we used to do it.
This is a picture of myself and my husband on our wedding day. That was in 1947. That was when I moved down here to Brighton Township.
Yes, this is Mike Starr, the Honorable Mike Starr, I believe, who was a government person. I can't tell you, but it was his job to introduce each one of us to the Queen.
Although all my life I've been associated with Presqu'ile, it was always just sort of a fun place. There was entertainment with the dance hall. There was the dock where boats from all over North America used to come and moor their boats, the sailors. They used to start the Freeman Cup race across Lake Ontario from that location. They used to have a tennis courts beside the hotel, and we previously mentioned the golf course, but they had regattas every year. They had what they call a Calathumpian parade.
So in the case of the Smithfield experimental farm, it was vegetables and fruits only. There were no animals on the farm other than my dog. And the role of the farm was to look for opportunities to help the local farmers and the local canning industry produce better products and bring them to market.
He decided to take a plate from the kitchen supply and write on it. And as he was going through Brighton, he threw the plate out the window like a frisbee and almost decapitated the station agent and the mail courier there.
Something I just thought about Applefest, we always had celebrities, but what happened was, I can remember 2 or 3 times probably, we asked weathermen to come to be our celebrity, and wouldn't you know it, it rained. They always took it in good heed and didn't bother them, and they rode I remember Dave Duvall riding in the one and holding an umbrella to keep himself dry.
Several pictures of Peter Koval's Hotel Presqu'ile show a building to the east, which was a dance hall. It had been clearly demonstrated that summer visitors to Presqu'ile wanted a convenient place to dance, and for a few years, this small structure beside the hotel would serve the purpose. Mr. Koval felt the need to increase the number of rooms in his hotel, so in 1912 he built an addition to the west end of the building. But then, in 1913, another businessman from Gosport, Grant Quick, acquired property on the south side of the road, just a little east of the hotel. There, he quickly built a much larger and more elaborate dance hall, with the idea of competing directly with Mr. Koval's dance floor beside the hotel. His marketing acumen was evident in the name he chose for his new dance hall, the Pleasure Palace.
A couple of months ago, we received a pleasant surprise from our son Mark, who has a pharmacy in Peterborough. He has 4 girls. We just got word that the youngest girl, Emma, had been accepted into the Faculty of Pharmacy in Kitchener, at the Kitchener-Waterloo University. So that means that in another 4 years, when she graduates, that we will have had 99 years between when my father first graduated in 1924, and then me in 1953, my son in 1985, and my granddaughter in 2023.
the offspring from these 3 marriages were double first cousins, as they had the same grandparents on both sides of the family. That makes Mary Macklem and me double second cousins. We tease each other about how grateful we are not to have been given the name Jerusha after our great aunt.
Then when all the children had left, he said, "Joe, I want to talk to you about something." Well, I thought, oh, what have I done now? Anyway, it wasn't that bad. He said, "Joe, they're going to need a new principal up at Bethel School, SS number 21, Murray Township. Would I be interested?" And I said I would. And that was it. I became the new principal of Bethel Public School.
But the one thing I always remember, and it was Ron Wadling, who still lives here in Brighton. I guess he and Joan were in Belgium a few years ago, and she said to Ron, "Just order me whatever you think I would like." So he ordered, he could tell that it was eels, but he didn't tell her it was eels because he thought that she'd be squirmish about that. So he ordered her these eels, and she smacked her lips and thought they were really good. And so she said, "I want to tell the chef how good that meal was." And so the chef came out, and he said, "Well, those are eels." And she said, and he said, "They're from Presqu'ile." And she said, "Well, I live on the lakeshore at Presqu'ile. Are you talking about the same Presqu'ile?" And he said, "Well, Presqu'ile off Lake Ontario." And she said, "Yeah, that's where I live." So the eels that were caught here in Brighton had been shipped at least to Belgium, and 2 Brighton people had enjoyed the meal of eels there.
So the Nesbitt family, as I say, were very prominent. Sam Nesbitt served as the Reeve of Brighton several terms. He was also a member of the Legislative Assembly, or member of Provincial Parliament, as we now call them, for the Northumberland riding. And he was very active in an association of canning companies called Dominion Canners. And he passed away in mid-30s, and at that time he actually owned the office building on Main Street, 67 Main Street, which my grandfather Thompson had been practicing in the office there for about 5-6 years. He came in 1931 to Brighton, and thanks to digital archives, actually I came to my knowledge that great-grandfather Sam Nesbitt at one point had an office of the canning company in that building.
Looking back, you have to be very grateful that you grew up in a community where the people looked out for you, and you had great friends and neighbors, and still associations with many of them today. It gave you a great background to base your life on.
Okay, my name is Owen Gibb. I was born on a hot August day in 1936 on a farm near Stratford.